Welcome back, degenerates. I've officially owned the Marinemaster for 8 months now, and I'm giving you an update on how it's been. For those of you who only watched the first 30 seconds of a video, the bottom line up front is that I still like it a lot. It's an overpriced watch that's enjoyable to own. My first impressions video with all the typical obligatory watch review details is linked in the description. In that video, I said the Marinemaster is great overall with 2 criticisms, the bezel and the crown. I felt that the bezel action was a bit sluggish and not any better than an entry-level Seiko, and the crown action was hindered by the overhanging bezel. As of now, my thoughts are more or less the same. To be fair, the bezel action has improved over time and is more smooth than sluggish, but still doesn't feel any different than my Turtles or SKX. It's a typical Seiko bezel and works as such. For the crown, I still don't like how the bezel slightly hangs over it. I acknowledge that I'm being nitpicky about this. There's only really about a millimeter of overhang, but it's just enough to be slightly inconvenient when trying to wind the crown, and considering this watch is over $2,000, every detail matters. $2,000 is not an insignificant amount of money, and is more than enough to achieve watchmaking perfection, so all I can say is read into that however you will. It's important to note that my criticisms are subjective. Functionally, the watch works fine. As far as the bracelet goes, this is where I've heard mixed feelings about it. Objectively, it's finished very well and works. Personally, I do think it was an odd design choice, but I'm mostly indifferent. Before I even purchased the watch, I knew I was immediately going to swap it out with the retro razor bracelet, so all I can say is you either love it or hate it, but at least it does what it's supposed to do. With that out of the way, I can safely say that I frickin' love this watch. You really need to own a watch for a few months to get an educated opinion on it, and what I've learned is that this watch offers a top-tier wearing experience. On the wrist, the dimensions are perfect. It's small enough to look professional without sacrificing a large enough presence that dive watches should have. If you're a fan of the Black Bay 58 size, then you're gonna love this one too. Within that tight package, there's a lot of visual layers, none of which overwhelm each other, and the resulting effect is a beautiful watch, plain and simple. As a degenerate wrist incel, I find myself struggling to not constantly take pictures of it, as it consistently looks exceptionally juicy. The Zaratsu polishing looks so good in the light, in the dark, and from dusk till dawn it stays looking good. If we are to call this a homage to the 62 Mas, then I think it's a refreshing iteration. I am not a fan of the 62 Mas aesthetic. Just something about it doesn't jive with my preferences. But this Marinemaster version has brought me in and made me a believer. And for those of you saying this isn't a Marinemaster, it actually is a Marinemaster. How do I know? Look at the dial. It literally says Marinemaster right on the very front. Don't worry, I also did the prerequisite research and reached out to Seiko. I asked them what officially deemed a watch as a Marinemaster, and their answer was this.
There is no official list of specifications that a watch must have in order to have the Marinemaster title. But the Marinemaster series is known for its continuous innovation and enhancements over the decades in safety, reliability, legibility, and ease of use.
So whatever arbitrary and imaginary definition you all have made for the Marinemaster, I'm telling you that Seiko doesn't give a shit. Do with that information as you will, and you're welcome. I do understand the frustration from Marinemaster loyalists. Watch enthusiasts can't stand change, and things usually aren't as good as they used to be. Be that as it may, I personally have had nothing but great experiences with this watch, and it's been Marinemaster enough with at least all the things that I put it through. I'm no Navy SEAL, but I have a decent amount of semi-rigorous things that go on in my life where if I'm satisfied with a watch, then there's a reasonable assumption that it's more than enough for the average mouth breather. But unlike the average mouth breather, I think this watch has a ton of charm that grows on you immediately even if you initially weren't a fan of it. This watch, just like any other, doesn't belong in a static image. Its full potential is brought out in the real world, and out there it truly does thrive. Overpriced? Yes. Well made? Also yes. All I can say is I have no regrets with it. And yes, my joy is still fueled by the tears of those that hate this watch. But that's it for now. Stay classy. I sure as hell won't.